Figured I should add this in the beginning of this 2014 3.6 liter spark plug and ignition coils there for the spark plugs change. Tools that you're going to need: 3/8 ratchet, potentially a magnet here, 6" extension, 3" extension, 5/8 either socket or spark plug socket, 10 millimeter deep, 13 millimeter deep, and 8 millimeter deep. The 10 and the 8 don't have to be deep. It just works easier for me that they are. 10 millimeter wrench, potentially for some of those nuts. You can get a little easier access with a wrench than you can a socket, but a socket will work too. Screwdriver, doesn't have to be this big, just what I had lying around, and potentially a set of pliers to help get off some of the hoses there on the intake. Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to be working on a 14 Chrysler Town & Country with a 3.6 liter and it doing spark plugs, ignition coils. So show a video of how to do that. First we're going to start off by taking off the cover. Just pops off, lifts out of the way, and then after that I'm going to remove our intake hose here. Just gonna take it off here, wiggle it out there, and undo the hose clamp back there, lift that out of the way, clear some stuff out of the way. Alright, now that we got the air filter hose out of the way, you just pull that out, undo your 8 millimeter or flathead screwdriver and undo the 3 clips, pop it out, slides out of the way. The next thing we're going to do is take off all our electrical connections and this hose, undo those, pull this out of the way, get it all off the intake, so we can work at removing this to be able to change and gain access to the spark plugs and coils. Alright, so once you get all those electrical connections disassembled, the next thing we're going to take out is going to be our air filter thing here. I've already got it loose, but basically it attaches there and all the way at the back down here, but the back just lifts up and the front piece there gets pushed out to the side there, and then you should just be able to pull it out just like that, and that gives you a lot of clearance there. Make a small pile to start gaining access. Once you get that out of the way, then there's another hose here that we're going to loosen off and pull off the back of the intake there, and then there's a little metal bracket with 2 bolts there we're going to undo and just kind of lean off out of the way. Okay, sorry about that, I lied. There's technically 3 bolts. There's the 2 10 millimeter bolts, and then there's, let's see, down here there's one more. You can see where my finger is right there. That's a 13 millimeter that is tucked in behind this gray electrical clamp, and to get the access to that one I used a deep 13 millimeter socket with a 3" extension on my ratchet. Alright, so next step, once we get that metal bracket off and out of the way, is going to be to undo our intake manifold bolts. So they're 8 millimeter, and there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 obvious ones, and that might be all. So okay, before I forget to mention it, there was the 7 8 millimeter bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I use ratchet with a 6" extension on 8 millimeter socket, but there's also 2 10 millimeter bolts holding it on. One right down there, and the other one kind of underneath that lip. I don't know if you can see it right where my finger is. Underneath of this lip here. Underneath the rad hose. So you'll have to get those 2 bolts as well. But once you get those 7 bolts, 8 nuts, or 2 nuts out of the way, you just lift. I needed to use 2 hands. Take that, lift it up in kind of a slightly forward towards the back fashion, and it will lift up just straight out of the way. And then that allows you to gain access to the 3 spark plugs and ignition modules there on the front, and the back ones you could have gained access to after just removing the air filter thing there. But there you go, lots of room. I recommend changing the seals, the upper intake manifold seals, while you're here, and then we'll continue with putting it back together afterwards. Alright, so once you had that all apart, now I guess in order to remove the spark plug and the ignition coil, what you're going to need is a 10mm socket. Undo, your 10mm bolts here. Undo your electrical clip, and then your ignition module will pull right out. And where did I set the old one down at? Oh, right here. So basically undo your bolt. This is what it looks like. This will just pull right out. And then deep down in your hole is your spark plug. 6-inch extension. If you have a spark plug socket, I'd use that. It's a 5/8. If not, a regular deep 5/8 socket and a magnet will work as well. And then you basically just take your spark plug and pull it out. Putting these in, manufacturers are pretty good. You don't usually have to check spark plug gap. I always do, just in case, but the last however many times I've checked spark plug gap, it's always been good, so you probably don't have to. I like to put like a little bit of anti-seize on the threads, just for ease of removal next time. And then slide it down the hole, take your socket, make sure it spins in by hand good. Spin it in finger tight till it gets good. Take your ratchet and just give it like a little snug. You don't want to go too tight on it. And then from there, slide your new or used, whatever, if you're replacing ignition coil, time to put your new one on. If not, take your ignition coil, put it down there, give it a good push so it connects. Do up your 10mm bolt, put that on, and basically you can start re-putting your manifold on. Change your seals, put your manifold on, then your 2 bolts underneath here, your 7 bolts up here, and basically reverse the process of taking it off. So it's like a little bit involved, but overall, like time wise, it doesn't take that long. All right, this is just for the end of the video for those who are gapping the spark plugs. Factory gap for these and recommended is 0.43. So basically, in order to do that, this is what I use. See if I can set my phone up in kind of a way. You just take this, goes in there, and then it basically just rotates until it stops. And then you read on the top side, and wherever it stops at is about where your spark plug gap is. So this one is the 0.042, which is going to be close enough to our 0.043 gap that it is asking for, so that spark plug can go back in. And to change these, you just simply lift it out, get a new one. They got the ridges on there to help hold it, and just firmly push them down into place like that. And then yeah, continue with your spark plugs and stuff there. But just for those who are wondering about that part, that's the gap and how to change those. Remember, when putting on your intake bolts here, they don't have to be that tight. They are only going into plastic. If you try and go too tight, you will strip them. It's basically just snug them up and just like a little bit, because you don't want to strip it. They're just going into plastic. Don't strip it. Alright guys. Also, when you're tightening them up, I usually like to start from the middle. So go middle, over here, over here, there, and then go until it's snug, and then do it all again until you kind of feel it kind of stop and you're good. You don't want to go any more than that, because otherwise you'll try and strip it out if you try and force it down. So then from then on, putting it back together, you just do the opposite way that you started taking it apart. Put your bracket back on with the 2 nuts and the bolt. Your hose here at the back, reconnect. Reconnect your other hose. Reconnect this one to the top here. Take your electrical lines, reconnect onto there, get your intake, put it on there, clip it down onto our things back here and slide it into the clip there. Hose, 3 clips, and put your thing back on, you'll be good to go.